Hi everyone. Welcome to my first video this year in 2026. I know I have been absent for more than 6 months probably on this platform. I didn't have enough time to film and there has been a lot of changes since, when I made the last video. And I'm not going to address all of them. I'm going to make a couple of videos that were requested. Some of you know probably that I spent some time in Spain and I was going to make a video in Spanish, but I will try to do it next time. It's kind of a challenge for me. I will try. My Spanish is not bad, but it's not that good. That's a promise. So in the next video, I will try to speak about my Spanish experience in Spanish. Anyway, um, I just want to say hi to all of you guys who came here from platform Be Confident from Brazil. I have regularly had group classes with Brazilian students, sometimes 200, sometimes 300, sometimes more. And a lot of them came to my YouTube, or I recommended them to check out some videos about English. And yeah, for all of you guys, welcome to my channel. Um, this video will be the one that I have been planning to make for a month, and it's about the book that I published. So this is my first book. I can't believe I'm saying that I actually published. Since I shared this with my colleagues and with students, with my clients, and they all ask me what the book is about, what the book is about. And so I don't know how to explain it. It's not that simple. So I decided to make a video and try to explain it in more detail, what the book is actually about, how did I write it, how do I came to this idea to actually sit and write, what are the chapters about. I'm going to read a little bit from the book just to explain to you some details. I'm a big book fan. I read a lot. I used to read a lot when I was in school, and books are a big part of my life because for some time I, you know, for various reasons could not travel or could not move. And when life gets like that, a little bit stagnant and boring, books give us this insight into other worlds. And I cannot believe how many new worlds I've discovered just by reading books. And so that's why I always say to my students, it's very important to read. And it's really a good idea if you want to improve your English to learn from the best, which are the authors who are, you know, who have their careers and they dedicate themselves to write beautiful sentences. And so who can you learn English better than them? Okay, just a little bit of info about the book. So it is published on Amazon Kindle platform. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can download it for free. If not, I think the full price is $7 or something like that. I think you can download it in PDF and ebook format or Kindle format. So Amazon offers that option. And for me, this was like the easiest way to, without like looking for publishers, without having to, do a lot of marketing. I just wanted to get it out there. And then from there, we will see the proper audience and, you know, how this book can be advertised in the best way and reach people that, can benefit from it. And so the title of the book is Shame, Such a Pretty Girl. And subtitle is Journals and Notebooks. I wanted to put the full subtitle, Journals and Notebooks about Anxiety and Healing, because that is technically what the book is about. But in the description of the book, you get a little bit of the info about the processes which I go through in the book. So I didn't think it was necessary to just explain it so detailed in the title. And it's been written, so it's a kind of a memoir, but my father commented, how can you write a memoir in your 20s? So you're too young to know the world. So memoirs are written by somebody who had a lot of experience and who went through a lot. But for me, I don't know, like it feels like a memoir because it's a personal journey. I share my intimate details in there, but at the same time, I understood that, writing a memoir could, needs more heaviness or needs more experience, life experience. So that's why I decided to put journals and notebooks because it is what it is. Technically, the book has been written from the journals and notebooks that I had. It's a combination of all the texts that I made throughout 10 years. And I'm somebody who always has notebooks and journals, and I always like to write things down, whether it's like, my to-do list or my ideas and plans and info about things. And also, there was a part of my life where I would write these texts and these realizations about what was going on with me at that time. And so those were all technically um, typed and put into the book. So it's a compilation of all the texts. That's why I think the book is very honest and it shows you um, development of these processes of um, growing up in real time, almost like what happens. It's like a documentary, but in a written form. And this is very interesting because I also study documentary filmmaking, and I'm somebody who's like a documentarist at heart. I like to document life in photographs or in videos or in text sometimes. So this is the first time that I was like, okay, I realized that I also made a documentary, but it is with words. So it's like a document of your existence in a way. I'm going to try to speak as clearly as possible so that um, already complex book can be simplified so that you can get the gist of what the book is about. So make some coffee or some drink and let's get to it. Okay, so in the preface of the book, I say three things. First one is this book tasted salty. The second one is to my mother always, and the third one is for my great grandfather's grandfather Tropin's lost diary. And these three sentences I will explain a little bit in more detail. The first one, obviously, this book tasted salty to me because I cried constantly while writing the pages, while rewriting the pages, while reading it by myself for the first time. So there is no part of this book that I read and I don't get emotional. It's tears all over. All the journals and notebooks were covered with tears. Sometimes it would be from the experiences that I shared, sometimes it would be from the process of writing. So having this release of emotion is something that really kind of is related to this book. At the same time, I remember when I used to write texts as a child, I have one in the book that I used that fits really well. And one of the neighbors that read it, she started crying. And she said, "Why do you always make me cry when you write?" Or every time when I read something of yours, I cry. And I'm like, "Oh no, sorry." I felt that as like a negative comment in a way. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to make you cry. So I thought, oh my God, my writing must be so bad that people cry when they read it. Mm. But nowadays I realize that crying is actually a good thing. And so if this book, when you read it, if it makes you cry or realize that you should release something, that's a big, big thing. That would make me really happy. Tears can also be tears of joy. To my mother, always, it's because that's a fact. My mother has been through all of this together with me, the only person, because my grandmother died. And my mother kind of, even when she couldn't understand what was going on with me, she was there. Her presence, her constant presence left a big mark on me. And she was the only person, and she still is uh, the person that stays always present in my reality. And she's like a rock that when everything else is shaking, when everything else is going up and down, when nothing is certain, where you think you're losing your mind, um, you know, as a parent, I think more as a person than a parent, not all mothers are like that, but she was always with me, and I owe a big, I don't think I would make it without her, honestly, through this 10-year period. So like I said, even if somebody doesn't understand what you're going through, don't get mad at them because the fact that they're present is, you know, um, good enough. And from my great grandfather's lost diary. So this is a story about my great grandfather who was a soldier, or actually he was a young man, 18 years old when Russian Revolution started, and he had to flee from his country, and all of his family was killed. This is a personal story from my family, and he found himself in very, very unusual situations and circumstances in life. He swam across the Black Sea. He was in Turkey. He was in England. He was in Yugoslavia and Croatia, where he met his wife. In the beginning of his journey, he used to carry this diary or notebook with him where he would write how he survived the day. Basically, he would write what happened to him and, not to forget his sisters, his brothers, his family, his life, because he always planned to go back to his land because he had, a house, and he had this hope that he would come back, but that never happened in the end. And there was a time where he was befriending this man who didn't have um, paper to roll the cigarettes in, and he would rip the paper from his diary and roll the cigarettes and smoke. And so this was happening over a couple of months. And in the end, when my great grandfather opened the diary, he saw that like almost all the pages were gone. And he kept the covers of the diary and put something else in it, but basically the story of his life as he was telling it in real time got destroyed or was burnt in smoke. I never met him because he died much before I was born, but I heard this story in my family, and I would, as somebody who likes to read and as somebody who likes to write as well, I would be his number one fan. Uh, this would be my dream come true if I can read what he wrote and read what he felt at that time. But of course, that's not possible. I will never get that. So, and this is my way to tell him, hey, I wrote something too. So if he was alive, probably he would read my diary. Okay, so in total, there are 37 chapters in the book, which I'm going to read because I don't remember them by title. Chapter 1, photograph. Chapter 2, oh look, it's full moon. Full of what? Memories, I guess. Chapter 3, Tiana says it's wanderlusting. I have a lot of mentions of my friends in the book. Chapter 4, Moonshadows Rest, my favorite place. Chapter 5, Desert Wind. This is about Las Vegas. Chapter 6, Coney Island of the Mind, Coney Island. Chapter 7, Chicago. Chapter 8, Athens, Ohio. Chapter 9, Nashville. Chapter 10, Niagara. Chapter 11, Berlin. Chapter 12, George of the Jungle. Chapter 13, Nina. Chapter 14, Butterfly. Chapter 15, Anxiety. Chapter 16, The Day When It Happened. So basically, as you can see, like in the beginning of the book, you have all of these experiences of traveling and searching and wanderlusting, realizing, and then there is a point in the book, I think it's almost at like the first half of the book is the journeys, and the second is where in the middle somewhere the break happens. So this is chapter 16, The Day When It Happened, which I explain in detail what happened and how. Chapter 17, Falling. Chapter 18, Home. Chapter 19, Spinach Day. Chapter 19 for me, I think, is was the hardest to write, was the hardest to live through. And I named it Spinach Day because I really like cream spinach. This is something that my grandmother always used to make for me, and there was no, you know, thing that could make me hate cream spinach. Or in a way, cream spinach was something that, when everything else is falling apart, you just focus on that and it makes you feel good. And then when in the end, spinach did not feel as it used to, I realized that something really was off, that something bad was happening. And so chapter 20, Person X, chapter 21, Some Relationships Are Meant to Be Broken. This book is not about love, so there's not a lot about relationships, romantic ones. It's more about friendships and some, you know, people that you meet in life and what they teach you. It's more of like a karmic um, reminiscence or situations that make you realize certain things. Chapter 22, Cliffhanger. This is again me starting to travel again because I wanted to, fight this battle on my own and see how far can I go. How can I overcome myself in this state that I was in? Chapter 23, 37, Prairie. Chapter 24, Where Are We Who Hesitate? Chapter 25, Reason Why the Caged Bird Sings. This is when I started living alone again. Chapter 26, Wind Blows. This is about my grandmother. Chapter 27, Wish. Chapter 28, Blue Jasmine. Chapter 29, Tom, Shouldn't Fate Come Easy? This is about my favorite person from Ohio, Mr. Tom Brown. Chapter 30, People Break. Chapter 31, Counting Years. Now, after 30, these chapters are kind of healing chapters, or healing comes in the end, but the journey towards healing can be really understood from the book, like what happens gradually when you reach the bottom and you try to climb up, but then you fall again, but then you climb up and then you fall again. And then after these processes that you go through come to this sudden prairie, to this empty space almost. That is where from this nothingness kind of healing comes. And the last chapters of the book are realizing that this healing is kind of ongoing, and you're like, oh, okay, so I should just follow this and just go in that direction. Don't give up, and like something will come out of it. So those are like these last realizations that I had that I gathered in the book. And then chapter 32, No Pain is Dumb. Chapter 33, Ankle. Ankle is about me actually breaking an ankle, but it has to do with so for the first time, because I had severe agoraphobia, so I couldn't go out of a safe place that I had. Sometimes it would be my apartment or home. And when I would walk on the street with all the bodily symptoms that I had, I always felt like something was wrong internally in my body. And I would always look down, um, but nothing was wrong. I could walk normally. I could, you know, but I had a sense that people could see that something was wrong with me. This is this mind twist that happens, which is not true, actually. Nobody notices and nobody cares. But when I broke an ankle, this was a very, very difficult situation because I was invited to my parents' house and I was supposed to walk alone there. And I started walking. I said I could do it. And somewhere along the way, I started having panic, and my heart started racing. It didn't feel good. And in that moment, I fell and I broke my ankle, or I strained my ankle very badly. And then I called, and my mother picked up, and she came to help me walk to the house. And as I was going and I was limping, people were actually looking at me because, oh, look, her leg hurts. And at that moment, I realized that, I had the sensation that I was living as if something in me was broken, but not physically. It was broken on the inside. But now that I have this broken ankle, it kind of finally felt like, okay, this is how it looks like on the outside. I kind of got out of my head. And it's a very interesting like comparison between like the inner and outer world. Chapter 34, You Get Lucky If You're Lucky. Chapter 35, Cherry. Chapter 36, Didion. And chapter 37, 9918. Um, Chapter 37 was written when I was already in Spain, and I technically did not know what to do with all these pages. And I had no idea, should I publish them, or will anything ever come out of this, or is this just a bunch of words? And I had a big problem with how to finish the book, how to know when the book actually ends, when you're, writing about yourself. How do you end, not one chapter, but how do you end all of these chapters, and what has to happen in the end so that you close all of these chapters? And I was thinking about that a lot, and I was like, if it happens, it will happen. If it doesn't happen, then I will never finish the book, and it's fine. I will never publish it. And so things that happen to me later, maybe I will write a separate book about that, um, about what made me heal, what made me move from that place that I was in the end, what gave a final kick to change me completely. That's what starts in the chapter 37. So 9918 is a karmic number. For those of you who know, it's a number of um, a wound from a past life that we are born with, that we actually don't realize we have. And all the emotions that are in us, but they're unexplainable, but by present events, you can actually explain it by realizing that you were here before, in a way. I don't want to go too much into the spirituality. This is not what the book is about. I don't go into detail about that, but maybe it will be in some other book that I write, because this realization, that a lot of emotions that I had were not actually mine and they didn't come from me, helped me a lot as well to heal and to liberate. Liberation is also one of the main messages of the book. Being, you know, you are always free, and when you're traveling and when you're searching for yourself, you are free. But sometimes that freedom, you can limit your own freedom somehow, and you take away your freedom, but you can also give your freedom back to you, where you can start feeling free again. I also reflect a lot about the existence, because at one point I came to this dead end where I didn't even know what existence was. Um, and who was I? In a way, my, you know, physical body, but then, like, what is, I didn't discover the concept of soul, of being somebody beyond the body, because I was not a religious person. And, you know, all of these things kind of came into play. I talk a lot about existentialism. Um, Somebody would say you were too much in your head. At certain points, yes, because I was trying to help myself. And this also is a process that's very honest, and I honestly share it in the book as well. So you can see, what does your brain do when it's trying to help you, or save you, or make you make sense of something that you actually cannot make sense out of. What is it like when you're completely alone? What is it like when you're not alone? But what is it like when somebody is trying to help you, but they can't actually? Also, these kind of back and forths are explained a lot in the book. Um, in the beginning, just the concept of discovering the world and looking for something, but you actually don't know what you're looking for. The, what you're looking for comes later. Later in life, you realize what you're looking for, but in the beginning, you just go and you travel and you take in all of this. But um, I also I also kind of compare what is traveling like with one state of mind versus the other state of mind. Sometimes the traveling was the goal. Sometimes, searching for something was goal, but sometimes healing was goal. Sometimes the goal was just to escape a certain sensation, and also the inability of that, because you carry yourself always with you. And yeah, there is a lot of these themes about, it is not about the importance of me versus somebody else, like how my journey is more important than, or more valuable than somebody else's. It's a, it's about showing what is it like, and just giving you the outline. because every person is different. The goal is to kind of realize that every journey is different and valuable, and there is no one journey that's unique. And that just the fact that it is your journey should be enough to hold you and to help you not get into that despair, because you get desperate when you're too hard on yourself, when you're you against the world, when you think you're that nobody understands you, when you think that like nothing is nobody is like you, that you are unique and special and not understood and not you don't fit in anywhere, and so you get into these feelings of despair. But this book kind of shows you that that's not the way, like you shouldn't go in that direction. It is valuable, it will happen, but at the same time, you will have to, at a certain point you will have to hold yourself. There was one monk actually that I was listening while going through these processes and while writing the book, and he was talking about how his life turned 360 at certain point in life, and that what he was wishing for was actually something that hurt him the most in the end. And he was explaining to young people how sometimes our desires and what we think that is for us actually, we're pushed to that, to get that experience, to get humble and to get humbled by the universe, right? So it is a necessary journey. So sometimes even the path to your darkest self is necessary because it will show you the other way. So it's kind of explaining to you that life has different paths and you will go through all of them, and it is all for a purpose. It's all for a reason. And the reason is to discover you as a person in totality, to value yourself. So this monk actually was saying that you, in the end, you have to realize that you deserve to exist. And at a certain point, because of different things, I may felt that I did not deserve to to have anything in life or even to be alive. I don't know where did that come from. It's a mixture of, you know, it could be some themes from where my soul was before, but it also the experiences in this life and also my character and the upbringing. It's every person is a universe, so it's a combination of all of these things. Okay, and I just want to read the one of the last paragraphs that I wrote. This is not the last one in the book, but is one of the last that I wrote to kind of conclude the whole story. And it explains the relationship between your young self and your old self. And this realization was very important for me because somewhere along the lines, there was this break where I could not recognize the new me and the old me anymore. And I felt like this old me, or this young girl that I was when I was like 19 or 20, for the longest time, I had this feeling that I failed her, like many do. This is like a very standard, way of processing the past. But I didn't know how to get through her or how to get back to her, how to, because in my mind, if I would meet her in present, if I would have seen the me from those years, I would be so I would be happy to see a person like that. I was really happy with who I was at that time, not knowing what will come after. And so I would just want to hug her and be her friend, be her best friend, be there for her. Because a lot of the times she felt like she didn't have anyone. And so, but of course you cannot do that because a lot of the time has passed and this is you. It's all you in different, times, timelines in life. But just realizing what I was actually mourning was a very powerful act as well, because I was not, sad or nostalgic about a certain person or a situation or romance. I was actually sad because of this um, failing this young girl. And so it goes like, I'm sure that she never left. She kept on living away from me, parallel lives. And I don't know what her life is like. What I do know is that we will eventually meet, and I will need nothing more after that. It will be the greatest encounter. Part of maturing is accepting my fault, why we had to part, and why so many years have been let to pass. Only we who have left ourselves somewhere know of this kind of sorrow. We are hard seashells, empty and cold, forever searching for our flesh, our beating heart. This actually has to do with me moving as well. So I technically left this girl in a certain place and went back to another. So there was this, we were oceans apart in a way, but at the same time, it talks about time, how she was left frozen in time, or not frozen, actually, in my mind, she kept on living. And if I would continue that path, I wonder where would I be now, right? But my life went in a different direction. And so for the long time, this was like a part of my healing as well, imagining where she is like, where she is now and what her life is like. And that's what I wrote. And my life later felt like my beating heart was missing, or the heat, the warmth in my chest was missing, just because I was missing that me, right? That person that I was in in the past. And like I said, I had to overcome this feeling of failing her. And that's why basically the title of the book, a lot of people asked, a lot of my students asked, like, why is it called Shame, Such a Pretty Girl? The first title that I had in mind was actually Wind Blows, because this is the sentence that my grandmother used to repeat before she died. Even though there was no wind, she would always look at the window and say, Wind blows. And on the day of her funeral, the wind started blowing from nowhere. And she actually, I think, maybe saw the day of her funeral. Um, but also a lot of magical things happen on that day. So they're in the chapter. I don't want to share them. But in the end, I didn't decide to, because the book is not about, the book is about something specific. Wind blows would be too vague, too broad. So one chapter of the book is titled Wind Blows. But Shame, Such a Pretty Girl, the story behind the title is that when I was in this period of having deep, deep anxiety, and when I returned back home, I would not go out a lot. So people would not know even that I'm there. And I used to kind of live in my own world for a lot of times I would just like be on my own, or I wouldn't have like a lot of communication with the external world. And there was these two neighbors who were always gossiping, right? That's what they do. And they were passing by my window and they were talking about me and my family, and they didn't know that I was inside. I was arranging my closet. And one of the first one asked, like, do you know what is going on with this girl? And the other one is like, yeah, I've heard, she came back. And I don't know what they were saying, but technically it was bad because as a young girl at that time, people had certain expectations of you, right? Especially if you were a certain way. And when your life goes in a certain direction, for whatever reason, that doesn't fit into their view of you. They see you in a certain way, and if you don't fit in that mold, that means that you're a shame, or that that your life is somehow incomplete in their eyes. It's a very hard thing to explain. While she was saying about all of these things that I didn't do and these roles that I didn't fulfill in life, um, the other one said, "Oh, shame, such a pretty girl," meaning that in a sense, shame comes from broken expectations. Um, so me realizing that somebody else sees my life as shame while I was in the process of getting through that, it was very, very interesting to analyze and to accept and to realize actually what does that mean? And the second part, such a pretty girl, why does that matter also? So if she was not a pretty girl, would it still be a shame, or no? Is it a shame just because she is or was a pretty girl? And what pretty has to do with that at all? Like, is the adjective pretty there just because it's a girl? Would it be the same if it was a, a boy? That sentence stayed with me through this whole process. And this is exactly how I don't want young girls to feel. And if one message should come out of the book as well is that there is no shame in anything. Shame is a very powerful feeling that lowers your energy really fast and it puts you down. And so even if you are in the worst moment in your life, there is no shame in that. And there's no shame in there are no expectations, right? There are no rules. Every journey is different. And so it can be up and down and down and up and down, down, down and up, up, up. It's the every life is different. And by um you know, commenting on other person's life or trying to put them in a certain mold, we are in a way putting on our expectations on them, which is not what we should do. So also to the other people who are shaming others for XYZ reasons, at the same time, this should be like a message not to do that because you never know what the other person is going through. And also the notion of expectations. What do we expect from ourselves? What do others expect from us? Why are there any expectations after all? Why do we need them? Because what will happen will happen eventually in the end if you have the expectations or if you don't have them. Um, so that was kind of the one of the reasons why I decided to put that title. And also the cover of the book is my drawing. It all connected by coincidence. It looks like a girl who is holding or covering her face or almost like in angst or anxiety or fear or it looks like she's crying, but that was not the intention. So this is just like a regular drawing that I made. I'm bad with drawing faces. And so for me, it's easier to draw hands over face than like a facial expression. And so, but it came all together very nicely. So I think it fits. And also like to respond to some people who asked me like, why did you write about yourself? Why do we need another story from another person? Me personally, I love reading biographies. For me, fiction is also interesting, but not in the same way because um, I the sentence that my grandmother used to say, "Life writes novels." It's about, that life has already so many experiences and there's no need to invent anything. It will just happen and you have to follow it and listen to it or document it. And so for me, like reality versus fiction, there's no like comparison. Reality is as strong as fiction in a way. And if stories have a background, if I know that this happened to someone somewhere, it has much more weight than just realizing that it's like imagination of someone, if that makes sense. So for me, biographies, I read a lot of them. I spoke about a couple of books that were biographies here on my page as well. So I'm inspired by other people's lives much more than I'm inspired by imagination. I feel as well that if you think you have something to say, you should say it. Um, Everybody, like I said, has their own experience, but if that experience kind of transcends and becomes a universal, it kind of contains universal messages, then maybe it's your duty to share it because it will help someone. So I always come from that point, from that angle of helping and inspiring. And so if somebody reads this and ultimately they realize something about their life or it helps them in any way, this would be a dream come true. So on the other hand, if none of that happens, it's still out there. It's a way of releasing, of realizing, of closing. So I think it's completely valid for anyone to write about their story and their personal life if they want to. And ultimately, the process of writing, also, I had questions about that. Like I said, for me, for the longest time, it was written on several documents, Word documents. Sometimes it would be on pages, sometimes it would be on my phone. Sometimes I would email myself these paragraphs that I wrote. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night I had a dream, I wrote it down, or I woke up in the morning and I realized something, I wrote it down. So for a long time, especially in the middle of the book, these chapters about anxiety and healing, those words and those sentences came from, me trying to help myself, me thinking through the whole process, me realizing, which is an essential part of healing, as you will later see. Without that, you won't, you cannot get to the end in a way. You cannot get out of there because that is the first thing that your brain do. And if somebody is trying to help you not to think so much or distract you, it's not going to work. You have to go through that. And so, in a lot of these moments, I was writing everywhere. And so it all came together, but there were some texts about my journeys. That's how the whole thing started, because I had very strong emotions and realizations while I was in certain places, like in the middle of the desert in Nevada, in Niagara Falls, when I was alone in Berlin. So there are several, moments in different places that in New York as well, I realized it would be so stupid of me not to write it down. Those experiences were very strong. They were almost spiritual. And so I started writing that down, but I didn't know how to combine everything. But after a couple of years, it all started making sense. And slowly I started putting everything together as a puzzle. I started from the oldest chapters that I wrote, and then it all gradually kind of just moved on from there. And I continued writing. This happened like during COVID. Most of the book was written during, the times when we were inside. And so the last chapter of the book, chapter 37, which is called 9918, I actually have that number tattooed on my arm, and the majority of this chapter kind of stayed in the air. I didn't put everything on the page, maybe because it's the beginning of a new book, of a new chapter, but technically what it does is we close the whole book with the notion of, or with the knowing of love and realizing love in its purest form, not in a romantic sense, but in the multi-dimensional sense that we are supposed to understand it. So, you cannot reach the healing without love. And of course, love towards yourself, which comes first after all of these torments. When you get to the end, what you will, realize is that what is actually love. And it's so interesting because there is the Valentine's Day, there's like love in the heart and the red heart, and we have so many, logos that say love and the messages of love. And we have love almost like this word that is too used, too much. It's consumed. It became like a symbol of a certain feeling. But actually, may prefer to use some different word that describes the same feeling, but the feeling that is much more deeper, much more multidimensional than just romantic love or love in a certain direction. We often talk about love towards the family, love towards the animals, love towards the romantic partner, love towards yourself, love towards God, and all they're all different like shades of love in a way. But like there is some other feeling that also goes through that, like um that is also love. And you kind of, when you get filled with that, it kind of carries you, and it helps you, heal and move on and move forward and understand life and understand what it's all about and understand where it comes from, that you had it before you were born and you're going to have it after you die. It's so much more, big and universal, and it's karmic, in a way as well, because it's the karmic number. So yeah, that's with that kind of the whole book is closed on a very, very positive note. And I was not expecting that. I had no idea, like I said, how it's going to end. I'm happy that it ended that way and that it's a beginning of something new. Okay, so that would be all in short. I think I said everything that I was supposed to say. Maybe I will have like another video where I read a certain chapter and explain um, some interesting details or some adventure that I wanted to share in the book, but maybe it's kind of better when I explain it and tell you, you know, what the chapter is about. But for the most part, that would be it. And so, and of course, after all of that, you keep on learning, you keep on living, and this book is kind of like the base of everything, the underline, and then life goes on. So there are upgrades, but before you have that solid ground, you cannot move forward. And for me, that this book is a solid ground. It's like a level one in a way. And then, yeah, we go up from there. So if you, like I said, have Kindle, you can download it for free. If I'm going to leave the link, I'm so bad at promoting myself, but I will leave the link of the book below so that you can read the excerpt or, you know, download it or read it or whatever. If you have read it, also, if you're one of my students, you can leave the comments below. I would like to hear more about your experience, if you related to the book, what was your favorite, part of it? Is there any sentence that is going to stick with you? Something that you realize while reading the book. That's it. Thank you so much for being with me on this journey, and I will see you in my classes, and I will see you in more videos here. But yeah, have a good one. Bye.